Hello and welcome back. This is Trevor Smithy, and today I'm just going to be doing a complete, quick, concise guide on how to make custom songs for A Dance of Fire and Ice. And so, before we get started, I just want to say thank you for all of the support that my tips and tricks videos have been getting. And the reason I'm making this is because I was looking at why that video was getting so many likes. And, well, of course, a lot of people were looking for tutorials. Some people were wondering, how do you make custom songs? And so I figured, you know what, I know how to make custom songs, and I'll tell you how to do it as well. So, before we get started, the things you're going to need, obviously, you're going to need a Steam version of A Dance of Fire and Ice. So, sorry, mobile won't work. I don't believe there are any other versions. I guess the free Congregate version won't work either. You'll probably want some audio editing software like Audacity, and then you will also, of course, need a song, and depending on what song you are using, you will need to get permission from the artist themselves. So first, well, let's focus on that last one first, actually. So if you go to 7thbe at AT, or, well, 7th beat with the period between the E and the A, you will find the official 7th beat games webpage. And if you scroll down, you'll be able to see A Dance of Fire and Ice. And this is also where you can get it if you don't have it. And then you will go to this verified artists list right here. And so when you click on this, it'll load up. You can select your language if you're not English, but it should default to whatever yours is. And then if you note the artist of the song that you want to use, you can use it to search for them here. So for example, I've charted some songs from a person I've worked with in the past named Sanford, so I'll look up his name. And then you can see if they have if they already have an entry in their database, or if not, you can go from there. So for example here, if you find the artist in this list, depending on what they say, you can go ahead. So in this case it was mostly declined is what they put it as, but there's different statuses. So here, if we go back to the main, we'll see some. So you've got allowed, mostly declined, and then somewhere there's a totally declined, if I can find one. Whatever. I think, I believe Toby Fox is declined. So there might be some reasons why you just won't be able to chart certain songs. For example, say you wanted to chart Megalovania, right, by Toby Fox. Why not? Well, the issue is, in this case, it doesn't actually say, but Toby Fox and Undertale, a lot of video game soundtracks actually are owned by the companies, and a lot of times companies or publishers won't give rights, and so it's actually technically illegal for 7th Beat Games to host those on the Steam Workshop, which we'll get to in a moment. So for those reasons, there might just be a song that you want to chart that you just can't, or at least if you do, you can't put it on the Steam Workshop. So yeah, I would look at these mostly declined, see what their conditions are, if they're allowed or not. But if you need to, you can try and reach out to them, and using their guide, which is somewhere. There is a guide somewhere for what you need to send in the email to them. But, so for example, here, we'll look back at Mr. Sanford's here. So when you do it, you'll need to upload a piece of evidence of why or why not they can't. So in this example, I sent him this document, which I believe is on their main page or their Discord. I'll put a link to that in the description, and you can get that, and they just need to answer a few questions, fairly simple stuff. So now assuming that you've gotten permission, of course you'll need a copy of the song. Normally you'll get it in MP3 or WAV or FLAAC, whatever. you get it in some sort of format, but for A Dance to Fire and Ice, it needs to be in .ogg. So if you don't have it in .ogg, or if there's issue where there's a weird offset or the timing is off, you want a program like Audacity. Now, Audacity is just a simple audio editor. In this case, it's free, open source. I've used it a lot for all of my projects. And so what you can do is you can just file, open. I'll also have a link to Audacity, and then you can, find your find whatever song. So say I did get permission for Megalovania, right? I can go here, get my MP3, open it, and then what you do is, well, you'll look at it, see, oh shoot, there's this bit of offset here, so we'll just delete this, right? Okay, so then once you get rid of that offset, it helps to know the BPM. I use programs like Tap BPM is good. So what you can do is find Tap BPM or this, pretty much anything, right? And you just click to it. So if you know how fast it is, that can help. Or if you just know what the BPM is. You can also use Audacity to do stuff like this. You can generate a rhythm track and figure it out. But I already know that Megalovania is 120 BPM. So then what you do is you go to File here, you export as OGG right here, and then I would just leave it at 7. If you got it from a YouTube video, right, like you 4K video download, got the audio from that, and it's already kind of a low quality, there's no point in using a higher one, so you'll lower it down to like 3 or 4, but 7 is a good default. So then you'll save. None of that really matters. You can export it, and okay. So now you have your file. So then what you're going to do is, of course, you're gonna go to Steam, and then you will open up A Dance to Fire and Ice. And then once you are in A Dance to Fire and Ice, you will just go up and over to the left to the level editor, and then you will need to first save the file. So it'll open up with a blank one. You'll hit Save As, and I would just name it whatever the name of the song is. So Megalovania, that Dance Fire and Ice, save, and then you'll go here to File Name. You'll click this. You will locate your where did it go? Music. Here it is. You will locate your .ogg file. You'll open it, and then it will just import it. So then what you need to do is there's some basic details that you'll need to fill out. So first here, like I said, you'll need BPM. No, that's 120. Volume can keep it 100. Offset, if you don't use Audacity or if you don't change it in Audacity, you'll put the time before the song starts here in milliseconds. Pitch can be helpful for testing or if you need to slow down the song. Just know that if you upload it with the pitch at anything other than 100%, it will be at that percent speed. So like right now, if I do this, you'll hear Megalovania very slowly. Which of course you don't want to upload that unless like you're using it for a tutorial or something. Hit sound, so that's the different sounds. A lot of these things I would just say experiment with. I wouldn't put it on none because that's probably not good unless the song has notes on every single beat and it sounds like there's already hit sound. I would leave this, but again, you can tweak it and count down, like, I don't know, if it's in a weird 3/4 or something, or 5/4, you can have different amounts of ticks. This next one, level settings. So artist will be the name of the creator. In this case, it would be Toby Fox. Now it's going to say declined here, which would, say, oh, you can't. But if, say, oh, it's Jordan Sanford, well, then it can put that there. And then you read the disclaimer, you click this or whatever. Or if in the case where it's yourself, you can just put your own name. and then you can go here and just say I'm the artist. Also, if it's something like if it's free, open source or whatever, if the artist said I don't care, and specifically not I don't care, but they specifically said this is creative attributes license or free domain, then you can just put public license. So in this case, I'll put Toby Fox, but obviously it's not, it won't, so I'll just put Toby. So then if it is a new person, right, and you haven't, if they're not already on the database, but you did get an email, you can use this. This will also take you to that verified artist website, and then you can upload a screenshot there. Then you put the name of the song. The author is yourself. The portal image, that'll be what displays as the main image, like on the screen. Here, I'll just show you. So like, if I do this, right, I'll use one of my old ones. Then here, when we go to upload it, just say I'm the artist right now, just say public license there. Okay, that's what it'll show up here. So then this little question mark here would be the question mark would be this level icon, which is technically not required, and you can make it whatever color you need. Preview duration, that's entirely up to you. Seizure warning, if you use a bunch of weird effects or whatnot, I would put that on. Level description will show up on the left side of the custom levels page. And then just tags and links and whatnot. I'd put at least one link, especially if the artist was someone who wanted specifically to be credited. So once you've done that, you can look at how the track is going to look. So this is just general. All of these are entirely visual things, but just some simple. So there's different tracks types. So if you want alternating colors, if you want them to glow or blink, obviously these ones won't show. Or rainbow, some fancy, like this is what rainbow looks like. You can do all those kind of things. If it's something like blink or rainbow where it alternates, you'll need to put an interval. If it's a pulse, you can have forwards and backwards pulses. Track style, so that's whether it looks like this or neon light, stuff like that. Appear animation. Again, these are ones that you're just going to kind of want to mess around with. I like fade or extend personally, but it really doesn't matter. It's entirely up to you. Depends on what the context is. And this is just how it starts. This isn't how it's going to be for the whole song. I mean, if you never change it in the song, that'll be for the whole song. But background color, color, by default it'll look like this, but I normally disable it if I don't put an image. You can also put a video by going to this miscellaneous settings one, by going right here. You can also, if it's an image, you can change the color, or sorry, if you have an image, you can change the color, parallax, all these fancy settings. Again, just mess around with it a little bit. Camera settings, so the default is just like this. Also, I should point out, this is Auto. He's a automatic bot. He'll play for you, so play through your song for you, so it's good for testing. But yeah, you can do weird, funky stuff like, let's heckin' invert the camera, because that's fun. Why you would do that, I don't know, but you can. You can also zoom out, so zooming out is a higher percentage. So zooming in would be a lower percentage. You could have up close and personal. Again, entirely up to you, just fiddle with settings. Like I said, video background if you don't want to have a solid picture, or if you don't want to bother doing different items and whatnot, or decorations, sorry, I should say. Tile icon outlines, so for example, say you have a speed marker, right? But for example, on rainbow, it kind of gets washed out a bit, so you can turn on outlines, and it'll add this nice little white outline to it. Sticky tiles, depends on what exactly you're making, but if at any point you have track moving that one of the planets is supposed to be on, you want this enabled. Normally I just turn it on anyways, but it's entirely up to you. Planet orbit ease sounds a bit weird. It just determines how the rotation goes. So linear just means it spins at a constant rate. Things like sine, so like this will mean then, you see how it slows down right before you hit it? So that's why you might want to mess around with this, but at least for your first ones, I would just say use linear. It's the easiest to read and the least likely for you to mess up, especially while you're figuring out what the rhythm actually is. Okay, so now that we've gone over all this, if you want to close it, just click on the tab that you're already on. If you open it, just click on any other tab. So then, the way you navigate in the editor is by using right and left arrow keys. To right to advance in the song, left to go back in the song. To delete a tile, you can either hit delete or whatever the letter is that has this red X on it. So I can hit A in this example. The only weird case being with mid spins, because then if you hit D, it's okay. In this case, it'll work, but in some cases, it'll be a bit wonky. So then just use the delete key. For the different kinds of notes. Okay, so quarter note will, if you've watched my tips and tricks series, go check that out. You'll know what they look like, but like that's a quarter note. So it's hard to describe this in a concise way, but if you haven't played A Dance of Fire and Ice, you shouldn't be making custom levels. So if you don't know what a quarter note is, yeah, I would play the game more. So then 8th note, 16th note, dotted 8th note. I call it a down tilt, but it's a quarter with the 16th, right? Dotted quarter note, double dotted quarter note, or a dotted quarter note with the 16th. And then if you want to have half notes, which I would only do if you only have a few half notes, but depending on how you chart it, it's entirely up to you. You can use space, so that does a mid spin, or not. No, mid spin is this. This is mid spin. So okay, this does a spin, right? So what it's gonna do is it'll do a full 360, or yeah, full 360. If you want it to just hit it, you can hit tab. Tab does this, so it'll keep rotating, but mid spin. This is mid spin. You'll hit it and just keep going. So then you could have, say, this, right? Obviously that doesn't match the rhythm, but that's not exactly my point. So then when it actually comes to, also make sure to save a lot. When it actually comes to mapping out the rhythm, I personally like to slow down the pitch at least a little bit, 75, 50, depending on how fast it is. And then depending on how the song is, you might want to actually change the speed to be a multiple of 2 or of like a half, so that you can better match the rhythm. So in this case, say we want to match speed. So let's look at these bottom things here. So set speed, pretty self-explanatory. There's 2 modes. There's BPM and multiplier. So you can either manually set the BPM. Say I want it to be half as fast, right? I know it's 120, so half as fast is 60. But instead of that, I could also just do a multiplier of 0.5. It's entirely up to you. But in this case, I'm actually going to put it to 240, yeah. Actually, though, personally, I would say use the multiplier if you can. It's just a bit easier to work with, in my opinion. But it's entirely up to you. So that's how you set a speed. Also, that's how you delete it, by hitting the garbage can. So don't mind me. The way you close it is by hitting the tab. So we can do that. And we can use auto here to listen. So now that's way too fast. Whoops. So actually, no, we don't want this multiplier. Although maybe we do. There's going to be a lot of tweaks, and especially in your first couple levels, it's probably going to be a bit janky. There isn't really any good tips I can give about form. There's definitely some things to be said about overcharting and undercharting, but maybe I'll make a more in-depth video on that. So anyways, so you can... So it's one and... No, not that, but this. And sometimes it just helps to just manually do it. I believe it's this. Let's just see if that works. Okay, so now here we have an issue, right? It's like, oh no, it's going the wrong way. So then you can add a twirl just by clicking here, and it just does it. There's no options here because it's just a twirl. One thing I would say is never put a twirl underneath a tile like this. There is a few ways you can get around this. There aren't really any easy ones that I can think of. Okay. Some other things you can do to help with this. Say you have an instance where you want to have a twirl, but it needs to be underneath a tile. Well, first of all, look if there's anywhere else you can place a twirl. You can always place a twirl on a straight or a space note like that. Also, Control-Z is how you undo. Also, there's a help page, which has a bunch of shortcuts. Very helpful. Save. So if you can place a twirl elsewhere, otherwise you just need to indicate somehow to the user that there's a twirl or a speed modifier there. Also, checkpoints are kind of nice if you don't hide them, but I mean, if they don't see a checkpoint, they don't see the checkpoint. If they fail, they'll see the checkpoint. So in this case, this is a don't do this. Just don't. Sometimes it's better just to not chart a note, right? So in that case, do you really need to chart it? It's optional. So then, sorry, this is entirely unscripted. So say you've charted a lot of the song out, right? That's what I would do first, right? Just chart out the basic song, get all that figured out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to open a song that I personally composed and made the chart for, right? Which is about at this point, right? So we've mapped it out, we've got all the twirls. So now say you, say once you've done all this, you've got some weird overlaps, right? What you can do is you can use position and move tracks, are especially nice with these half note ones. So what you can do is you go here. Also, there's nice little tabs for all the different kinds of things. I'm not going to go over all of these because there's way too many of them, but I will just kind of skim through them. So set speed we've already looked at, twirl we've already looked at, checkpoint we've already looked at. Set background, this is just if you want to change the background mid-song, you can click it, open it, you can set a different color, you can put an image. You can't do videos, right? Videos are a one-time thing, but you can modify that there. You can change the color, so say you had rainbow, but now you want it to be a solid color, you go here, you can manually do that. You can change the animation, so that's the appear and fade thing, which I showed in the menu earlier. You can add decorations, which are essentially just image files, but they're smaller, and you can have them move and stuff. I don't really use them. I haven't ever actually used them, and they're a bit beyond the scope of this video, especially if it's your first time. But there's some interesting things you can mess around with, and you can make some really cool looking levels. Then there are effects like flash. So when you do this, it's going to flash on the screen like that. If you put one of these, please, for the love of God, put seizure warning on it, which, if you forgot, was right here, seizure warning. I would definitely say if you put a flash, put that there. Move camera, so if you want to adjust, if it's relative to the tile, global, last position, all sorts of stuff. And by the way, last position means last position of the camera, so like you could manually move the camera from here to here to here to here to here, etc. So there's lots of stuff you can do there. And then you can change the hit sound, so if there's a different part of the song that you want a different hit sound for, or if you just want to change the volume of it to match the song better, again, you can do that there. Recolor Track, it's similar to changing the track style, but instead this changes specific tiles instead of just every tile after. Move Track, so that's if you have, this is where you're going to want to have sticky tiles enabled right here if you use a move track. So for example, not this one, I don't want to move this, but if you watch here, you can see this moves up. So that's why you need sticky tiles, because if you don't have sticky tiles, if you disable that, it messes things up. So yeah, have sticky tiles enabled. Filters are if you want like really cool things, so like you can have, a VHS effect, wow. For some things that'll be nice, not for the one that I'm making right now though. Hall of Mirrors, this is just, it's a thing. It's a thing. I'm certain there's a good reason to use this, but I'm definitely not going to, especially not on this song. And there's all sorts of other things. There's shake screen. You can change the orbits of the planets, like in the menu over here, which by the way I'm going to close. If you have a decoration but you want to move it, you can do this. Position track, so okay, if you have a track that you move, you first position the end point by using this position on it, saying it disable editor only, and then you put the move track for that same amount. And if it's just one tile, you just keep everything else as default. Repeat events, so if you have certain events with tags and stuff that you want to repeat, you can do that. Bloom, you can have bloom if you want really glowy things. Conditional events, again, there's tons of stuff with tags and whatnot, which I would have to make a way more in-depth guide. This thing is already getting kind of long. Tile screen, scroll screen, all of these things. There's lots of effects to mess around with. But text is nice. So if you click on a tile and say you want to add some text, you can add text or change text. So, put it up by a tile. Also, vertical, increase in Y's go up, decrease in Y's go down, increase in X's go right, decrease is go left. It's essentially like a graph, like an XY plane. So then you can text, change it. Hi. Wow, text. And then you just click on it and you can delete it. Also there's fonts, so I can make sans font. So that is all of the basics of the editor. Obviously there are a lot more things you can do. But then once you are done, once you have made all of this, there's also some other things you can do. So say you want to make a tutorial, right? Say you want to make worlds instead of just levels. What you'll want to do is, well, in this case, I just copied it, right? I copied it, and then you copy it and name it and just put a number. So 1 for the first one, 2, 3, 4, etc. So we'll open up the first one. In this case, we have Squiggly Boy. So I literally just cut out this part of the track, redid some of the music to match it, and basically everything is the same, except most of this won't even matter. But normally what I do for the artist is I'll just have it as I'm the artist so it doesn't complain about it. And then I'll put the essentially an acronym, the first letters of each word, -1 for the first one, -2, kind of like how the main levels work, like 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, and then you can, essentially you'll just do this for each of your tutorials, otherwise everything is the exact same as before. So then, you'll check that, do all the tutorials you want, go back to the main one. Yeah, sure, we'll save it. And then we will open up the main one. And then, so once you've done all of that, and again, if you have any questions, you can always just ask me. You'll go to export. Also, don't forget to set a difficulty. This is like impossible for humans. This is barely possible for like professionals. One of which I am not. This is a good challenge for intermediate. Something like 5 is what I would say this is, although it might even only be a 4. 5 is like medium difficulty. This should be fairly easy, and if it's a 1, it's literally anyone who's played like the first 2 or 3 levels should be able to complete this. So I'll just keep it at 5. You can set tags, artist links. Like I said before, I'd put at least 1 artist link, and then just export. Make sure that if you had tutorial levels, it shows up here. It even has the little thing. This is how you name them. Agree to the Steam subscriber agreement, and then you can publish, or if you already published it, you can update it. So for example, I already published this one, and then you can update, click on the one that it is. Yeah. And then it'll show up here and update selected world. Of course, I don't need to do that because I haven't changed anything, but you would. So then, yeah. Of course, though, there are a few things that you should do before you just rush ahead and publish it. 1, of course, make sure that you have the permissions. 2, make sure that the song plays correctly. So I would play through it once, not as the bot, because the bot, it's sometimes hard to notice little mistakes, like if things are just slightly off-timed, if the tempo is off, if you have the bot playing it. And like I said before, you can also use this pitch to slow it down if, you want to really listen to it. But I would just play through it once. Actually hit the first note. I can't even play my own song. So anyways, yeah, you'll just want to play through the whole thing, make sure everything sounds good. Of course, save it, and then upload it. So yeah, I hope that helped you with the basics of how to create your own custom songs. And then of course, once you have created your custom songs, you can exit by clicking up there and hitting the little door. Go over to custom levels. You should have automatically subscribed, but if you need to, just hit escape and refresh levels. Mine, of course, is already here. And then you can check it in-game in the custom levels page to make sure everything is actually uploaded correctly. And then, yeah, that should be all you need. So, thank you for watching, and as always, wabam.